the whole idea of coming here together was to bring together, when the association, we were thinking of putting together this Who's My Neighbor thing, that you guys so graciously just kind of jumped into. What the first time we did it, we were talking about demographics in the area. We were talking about who lives next to certain different churches, what immigrant populations are there, and how do we reach them well. And some of the feedback we got was like, I would love more specific information about how do we reach Muslims, how do we reach Hindus, how do we reach Buddhists, and that kind of stuff, which is way more than we can really get into in one evening. But as we were thinking about like who can lead these different breakouts and stuff like that, I was thinking through about, I have friends that know this stuff, that have come from these backgrounds, that are strong, solid believers who can talk into this. And so I think in the missions conversation about reaching the diaspora, we mistakenly really think that reaching the diaspora is always a, American church to the diaspora. But frequently, a lot of people who are diaspora people, a lot of immigrant peoples are already believers. They're moving to the U.S. as believers, coming from a specific cultural background. So I was like, well, why don't I just make a panel with my friends?
Yeah.
And that's kind of how the panel was born. And you guys just jumped right in. And we're pretty brave because you didn't know exactly what you were signing up for.
We're still here.
You showed up and knocked it out of the park. So, so we wanted to make a podcast of having this conversation again, make it available to other people who could find it helpful, and to encourage people to partner with immigrant churches, diaspora churches, different believers from different backgrounds, to see how they help us see our blind spots and help us connect, and go better than we could if we were doing it by ourselves. So that's the context of why I have you guys here, and I'm super grateful y'all are here. So why don't you guys go ahead and introduce yourselves and give a quick summary of where you're from, how you got here. I mean, none of us are from Houston, are we? I'm from Georgia originally. And then, Nyla, why don't you tell us a little bit about your story?
Sure. Well, thanks for having me, Marie.
Absolutely.
I know we're same Sunday school class, so it's always fun to do these things with you. Yes, so my parents are Lebanese.
What's your full name first?
Nyla Benjamin.
Okay.
My parents are Lebanese, and they kind of grew up during the Lebanese Civil War, which was really a kind of contentious war between, Muslims and Christians. So Christians took up arms, and they are both Christian background, but really grew up and accepted the Lord maybe later in their life when they were teenagers, and were discipled by Campus Crusade for Christ on campus at the American University of Beirut. So that really ignited their faith. And my father is a physician, so was accepted at the University of Florida in Gainesville for residency. So we're Gators originally.
It's okay.
And,
I'm a Georgia Bulldog personally, okay. But we can overcome all kinds of differences in the name of Jesus.
In the name
of Jesus.
So so I was born in Florida. Actually, I was born in Gainesville. My brother was born there as well, and then my dad got a job at MD Anderson Cancer Center in Houston. So we've been in Houston ever since. I had a younger brother after that. But, as time went on and I grew older, my parents started seeing kind of a gap in the Arabic community in Houston that really needed a strong, thriving church. And so they started a Bible study in our home that grew and grew and grew and grew until it became a church. So I like to say,
just down the road.
Yeah, it's down the road. So I literally was raised in the church and was a pastor's kid. So, but those experiences though, like really marked my faith. I think, seeing my parents really not only preach the gospel, but preach it with their lives and their servanthood. So, so it became a really great mission, and it's still going on great, strong today, reaching out to the Arabic community in Houston. So that's just a little bit about me.
Yeah. What about you, Ray? Lean into the mic,
I
if you will.
am. My name is Ray Chin, and I'm born in Malaysia. If you know, Malaysia is a multicultural and multi-ethnic country. And the reason why is that because it used to be a British trade route with China, and that's where Malaysia is the center of the trade route. So India also trade with China, so they meet where Malaysia is right now. Yeah, so that's how different ethnic groups start to settle in Malaysia. So that's cross marriage, and yeah, and I am the third Chinese generation in Malaysia. My grandmother actually migrated from China. So I grew up in a Catholic family. My parents converted from Buddhist to Catholic, and Catholic it's still a very small minority in Malaysia, and Malaysia, by the way, has three ethnic groups: Malay, Chinese, and Indian. So I grew up speaking many languages, like 5 Chinese dialects, Malay and English. So it's a really interesting place to live because we also have different festivity, different customs, and of course different kind of food. So it's a great place to visit. Yeah, and I know Malaysia. It's actually was listed the top 7 place to retire. So that's my place to
That's
retire.
your plan.
That's my plan. Exactly.
Awesome. That's cool.
So I think that's it. Yes.
That's cool. I didn't realize that about Malaysia. So you pretty much moved from you understand the multicultural thing really well, and then moved to Houston, which is probably one of the most multicultural cities in the U.S.
Yeah. And at a very young age, I already have that question about faith. Like at 8 years old, I see my friends go to the temple, Hindu temple, goes to Buddhist temple, and people go to mosque. And at that age, I would start to wrestle my faith. Which is the right God? And I started to have questions at a very young age, and that really helps me to develop, to find the truth, rather than just go with the culture and what customs and a lot of superstitions, especially in the Chinese culture. I question that. It's like, why do we need to do this? And that really develops my faith. Yeah.
When did you become a believer?
So I grew up as Catholic, so I go to Catholicism Sunday school. But as born again, it will be 18. Then I went to Full Gospel Assembly Church, and then I find it, wow, this the way of worship is definitely different than in Catholic. So, and I can see the heart of the believers. It's like, wow, that is a closer relationship that I can develop with, rather than just listen to the priest. So that's why I discovered I need to give my life to the Lord.
What about you, Frazee?
So my name's Frazee George, and my family is originally from South India. Specifically Kerala, which is the southern tip of India. But my sisters and I, we were born in North India while my parents were doing mission work there. So South India is predominantly Christian, so I grew up as a Christian. All I knew was Christianity. And we had
Didn't
historically
you live in a convent at some point?
I did.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, historically we had ties with early Christian missionaries like St. Thomas. But North India was predominantly Hindu, but they were unreached, very resistant to Christianity. So when I grew up there, in North India, my aunt worked at a convent, and when my mom got a residency here in the U.S. in Chicago, my mom left, so she left us in the convent. Can't say left us. She what's the right word?
Put you in the care of your aunt.
In the care of my aunt who was in the convent.
Yeah.
And my aunt worked with Mother Teresa.
Okay.
So I grew up in the convent with 100 other girls, and and thinking, oh, I love this place. Accidentally did not think anything of it.
Mm.
So in the 70s is when we moved to the U.S. So I was probably late elementary school, and we landed in Chicago. So we traded the heat of India for the snow of to our knees.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's
Wow.
that's some whiplash there.
Yes. That's right.
Minor.
And then you were like, I'm gonna move to Houston, so I don't have
And
to
then
feel
I
that
think-
again.
Right, and then I think my dad had enough of the snow there, and
Fair.
we snowed in the Windy City.
Yeah.
It was no joke. So
Yeah.
we packed up our bags and we moved to Houston.
What was your experience like moving to the U.S.?
Woo.
I know that's a loaded question, and it's
Yeah.
1,000 things in
That's a-
one. But like, what was that experience like for you, especially as a
That's a
elementary
tough
school
That's a
kid?
tough one. Yeah. I felt like I was, even though I grew up as a missionary kid and we learned English, it was more British English than the American English. So
Mhm.
coming here, I thought, oh, I knew English. I knew. Fit right in. I would be great, but that's not how it turned out.
Mm.
So I got made fun of every day. I mean, just the skin, my color, just people hadn't seen a person of Indian origin.
Yeah.
So to them, it was more American Indian.
Mhm.
And if I'm not American Indian, then
Oh.
there's not an Indian that they know of.
Yeah.
Right? So they couldn't understand where I was from.
Mm.
And then, it was the running joke was, oh, Columbus went to India, So that's the India she's from. Oh, we learned about you in the books. So is this what Indian people look like, right? So it was just
yeah.
that. It was just, it's all because they didn't understand,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But at that age, you felt like you didn't belong.
Yeah.
You were bullied. You didn't, So that was my experience.
Yeah.
All
It's
through
already
elementary,
hard
middle
enough to
school.
be a kid. Yeah. And then, to add having to explain yourself and your culture to other
Right,
people
right.
is a big, it's a
Right.
big responsibility.
Yeah, it wasn't something, school wasn't something we enjoyed.
Mhm.
Honestly, we faced a lot of racism, but we just learned to survive.
Mm.
That's the right word to say. We just learned to survive, and I think it was my mom. She extended grace to just about anybody and everybody
Mm.
that we came across, and she was always on her knees,
Mm.
just a praying mom. So that is my picture of how my life in
Yeah.
the US was early on.
Yeah. What a great heritage to have of like parents who pray and like help you
Yeah.
endure hard things
Right.
because they know the Lord. Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, Ray? What was it like moving to the U.S.? I can't remember if
Yeah.
you said when or how you
Oh,
moved
wow.
yet.
Yeah, I came over for college. I went to Kentucky, University of Kentucky, which is a rivalry of University of Florida
Yeah,
and
it's
Georgia.
yeah,
Yes.
definitely in basketball.
Oh my
Yes,
God. Yeah.
So coming from a high populated city and moving to Kentucky, a country town, it was definitely a big culture shock.
Mm.
And I think that's of course there are a lot of challenges emotionally and socially. I think many ways one of my biggest challenges is the social integration.
Mm.
I think it's because in Malaysia we got so many street foods, and it's very easy to socialize with people.
Mm.
And food it's fairly cheap, so it's very easy to commit to social what do you call it, social
Like social
Yeah,
interaction.
so
like you just
exactly.
yeah,
You meet
you just
people.
meet
Yeah.
people out and
Yeah.
about.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I came to Kentucky, there were probably 2 Asian restaurants, and right, it's
have one.
food.
Yeah.
So try to meet people or going out to eat with people. It's kind of very rare, I would say, and I think that was the hard part, trying to get to know people and trying to build the support group as well. Yeah. Of course, coming here, I left the support network, all the how and all the familiarity. Yeah, coming here, it's definitely it's a steep learning curve.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I imagine.
Yeah. So, and then I think separating from the family, of course, it was was definitely a homesick stage.
Mm.
You know, when I came to America, in order to communicate with my family, we use what we call back in the days, my era, is the public phone.
Yes.
Oh
Yeah.
yes, yes. I mean, I feel like we're all old
Yes.
enough
Yes.
to know what a public
Yes.
phone
I
is.
don't know you all ever use a public
Yes.
phone, but
Yeah.
I had to use a public phone to call back Malaysia.
Yeah.
Yeah, so-
That's
Well, and that's like
amazing.
Yes.
international calling,
Exactly.
and
Yeah.
like that's a whole
Yeah.
different. You can't just WhatsApp it,
Yeah.
like voice call, all that
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, now a public phone is like monument, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The museum.
Yeah, it's a museum. So we don't have smartphone back then. So we just it's just like Crazy was saying, we just have to learn how to survive. Just learn the culture. Just find your ways to move on. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So yeah.
I've heard it. So I lived in West Africa for a couple years, and then I did a summer internship in Canada, which I'm from Georgia originally.
Mhm.
Very different than Canada. Like they had to pull me aside and were like, "You have to stop telling people ma'am or calling people ma'am and sir because they think that you're being sassy."
Oh.
But anyway, so one of the things that the family I was staying with, we were talking about culture, and they were like, every culture is like a city with two walls, and some of those cities have low outer walls, so it's really easy to get to know them, but then they have high inner walls, like to get into the inner workings of a person is a little bit more complicated. But he was talking about Canada has a high outer wall, so like, it's just hard to meet people. It's hard to connect. Why would you smile at somebody who's just randomly on the street? Like, you don't know them. They don't know you.
Mhm.
But then once you break over that wall, if you're a close friend, then you're in all of their circles. I remember I was talking about culture with one of my Asian friends in North Carolina, and she was like, it was like a light bulb moment. She was like, I always thought everyone was so mean because they were just so standoffish, and it took her a while to realize it's like, we're not intentionally mean. But I mean, every culture is different, and so
it's just you don't understand it.
Yeah. Well, and so being on the reverse side of that, being a diaspora person living in West Africa, I can't imagine trying to break through a hard wall, because everywhere I walked, people were like, "Hey, come have tea with me,
yeah.
like come hang out, like let's sit and
Yeah.
chat." And so it was so easy, like hospitality.
Yes. Yeah.
Most of the world gets hospitality right,
Yeah.
and
Right.
the
It's
US,
It's always
Yeah.
a conversation over meals. In
Yeah.
the majority of
Community.
my culture.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter whether I know you or not. I see you on
Yes.
the
Yeah.
Yes.
Come on over.
I get to
Let's
know
Why
have a
you.
not?
meal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's
let's
Yeah.
break bread,
Yeah.
let's eat,
Yeah.
let's talk,
Yeah.
and maybe I don't let you into the deepest parts of my
Right.
soul or whatever. Maybe I don't trauma dump on you like we do in the US.
That's right.
And so it's just a difference there.
Right.
Yeah, and so I think I remember also learning that and being like, oh, that's super helpful. That's a super helpful
No,
framework.
you're so right. I think Americans are more individualistic.
Yeah,
I think, and
yeah.
by nature. And
Yeah.
other cultures are more, it's about the community, and
Mhm.
that's
Yeah.
how they see the gospel too, I think, sometimes.
I
So it
mean,
can
yeah.
get
Well,
different.
because you accept the gospel, and this is true of everybody, but like, you accept the gospel personally.
Yes.
Like, it is me and Jesus.
Yes.
But in a communal society, it's
the big
us
C, the
and
church.
Jesus. Yeah, it's the
Yeah.
church. Yeah, I mean, both are essential.
Yeah.
You have to have
Mhm.
both pieces.
Yeah.
And that's why it's important and helpful for different
Mhm.
cultures to talk to each other. Like, have you thought about how it's important for you as a person
Yes.
to commit to follow Christ, and not just because you grew up in it? And then also, have you thought about how inviting your community into your faith walk will help you grow as a believer? I mean, we challenge each other in helpful
Yeah.
ways, hopefully.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, which segues well into the next question. What are some cultural bridges that you see to? Wait, you didn't talk about your experience.
Well, because I was born in the U.S.
Well, yeah.
There's no moving.
well, so do you have anything you want to talk about like growing up?
It's funny.
Second generation immigrant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's funny. I always considered myself American.
Yeah. I mean, you are.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Well, I always had like, I don't know, white friends or whatever.
Yeah.
I never felt like we were different. I mean, I had different food going into my lunchbox to school and stuff like that. But I guess because my parents treated it in such a good way, they weren't. I mean, every Lebanese person knows at least like 2 or 3 languages. They knew like English since they were little kids.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
They knew. I mean, my mom loved Elton John and the Beatles, so I like all that cultural, dynamic was not new to them. But it's funny. Even as an adult, I mean, my husband's Egyptian, so I mean, I guess I do feel more comfortable in the Arabic culture.
Mm-hmm.
I still see myself having one foot in each culture. Like it's still hard for me to like identify 100%, but either way, like even with Lebanese friends of mine, I don't really see myself as like 100% Lebanese. I still, there's so many things about the American culture that I also love and have adopted in my own life. But, I mean, even though I would say after 9/11, though, I really felt it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I really felt it. I felt maybe even in the church, because I went to a Christian private school for a majority of my life. And I think after 9/11, I remember somebody asked my younger brother, "Oh, what church do you go to?" And he said, "The Arabic Church of Houston." And she said, "Is that Christian?" So it was like, even from then, just feeling like, oh, wow, like there's a big educational barrier to the Middle East, even though Christ came from the Middle East. It's that whole culture to the American church. It was foreign at that time, I think. Yeah. And, people would sometimes confuse us with being Muslim or, that sort of thing. So I think that's where a lot of that, maybe pushback came from. But for the majority of it, I feel like America's a great place. We love it here. I see myself as very American.
Yeah. So, I mean, being a second generation immigrant, your parents are immigrants and you're fully American born, Florida born.
Yeah.
So,
but it's different because I'm still tied to the land. Like when we go back to Lebanon, we go up to my grandfather's house in the mountains. Like we're very tied to the land and to what's happening over there. So it's a little bit of both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the cool thing about that missionally is some of the people are the best at crossing cultures or like bicultural people who either have spent a long time in another culture or have their feet in both cultures. So missionary kids are really good missionaries or I mean, immigrants are really good missionaries, because it's hard to understand your own culture and how the Bible applies to it and how the Bible challenges it until you've kind of like engaged with another culture to kind of be able to parse out a little bit of like, okay, this is what's truly biblical about what I believe. And then here are some things that I grew up with
that were cultural.
Yes. And they're neither... Maybe they're good, maybe they're bad, maybe they're neutral.
It's tradition.
It's tradition.
Something we've done all our lives.
Yeah.
So how do you integrate that into?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So what are some cultural bridges that you guys see from American culture, or maybe not American culture? What are some bridges that you guys see from the gospel or for the gospel into your home culture or your parents' culture?
I mean, I think, the Middle Eastern community is, like we talked about, very hospitable, and their values are very much conservative and very family oriented. And so I feel like there's such a huge bridge just from that, to reach out, and I think, I kind of mentioned this before. I mean, my parents came from a long line of Christians in Lebanon. Lebanon is the only Christian country in the Middle East,
Mm.
and it's in the Constitution that the president has to be Christian.
Mm.
And I guess that's the only place that's written in the whole world that
I mean,
so
I think
it's
that's,
so when refugees come, there's no barrier to sharing the gospel with
Mm.
them. You can I mean, missionaries love Lebanon because they can hand out Bibles and it's a beautiful country,
Yeah.
good food. So there's a long history of Christianity in Lebanon and most of the parts of the Middle East, obviously. So I mean, for us, even being here, reaching out to Christians who might be of Middle Eastern background, there's still so much in common. But at the
Mhm.
same time, predominantly around the Middle East is Islam, obviously.
Mhm.
And the churches in the Middle East have done a great job, I think, of reaching out to their fellow,
Mhm.
Middle Eastern Muslim, I guess, neighbors.
Mhm.
And I think, maybe the church in America can learn from them. And for us, I think one of the big things is like the Good Samaritan. Us and the Muslim are equal in
Mm.
humanity. They have the image of God in them. And when you do it like that, when you reach out in that way, I have many friends who are Muslim, many friends who came to my wedding who were dear friends of mine, and I think that cultural bridge in terms of they value family, they value very conservative values. Actually, when growing up in high school, all my Christian friends were sleeping around and doing other things, but my Muslim friends were wanting to stay abstinent until marriage, and so I actually gravitated more to them, because of that. But if you find that bridge that we have in common, like those values,
Yeah.
and you rely on them as a dear friend and as an equal, that can bridge so much more than the other way around, where it's a distant friendship, or just trying to win them just to win them.
Yeah. Well, and the interesting thing about Muslims is that we have so many shared scriptures. I mean, obviously we don't believe in the Quran, but in theory,
Yes.
they have the Injils, which are our Gospels, and the Old Testament.
Yes.
And so,
and they highly regard Jesus.
Yeah,
Jesus
as a prophet,
as a sinless prophet.
Yeah.
They love.
They think he's coming back to
Jesus.
judge,
Yes.
as well at the end of times. Isn't that right?
Yes. Yeah. They call him
right?
Isa, but they regard him as they respect him very much.
Well, in the South Indian culture, I would say we value hospitality and building relationships. We love having meaningful conversation over meals, and that is our top priority.
Yeah.
We could sit for hours over a meal and discuss historical and philosophical truths of Christianity or any other religion. And I say that because back home, we lived peacefully with Hindus, with Muslims, with Buddhists. They were all our neighbors. So we are comfortable sharing and having open discussions about different faiths. And I think we have strong family ties and we respect our elders, right? So sharing our testimony and stories helps us connect with others, and it helps us honor their and our family values. So I guess in our culture, I would say religion is deeply intertwined with family, with tradition, with social identity. So in a respectful way, engaging in open dialogues and talking about Jesus or any other religion is just natural for us, because we always have dialogues like that all the time with other religions. We don't hesitate to talk about it. And, I have my truth and you have your truth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which can then be a barrier. We'll talk about that later, but Well, and I think for a lot of Americans, especially when we have a friend who's from somewhere else, or it's a cross-cultural friendship, we're we're just so scared of talking about religion.
Right.
And I find it easier to talk about religion with my friends who are international or who are from different faith backgrounds, because they're a lot more open to talking about it than Americans are, for the most part, I find. But
why is that?
I don't know.
As an
That's a
American,
good
why is
question.
that?
That's a good question. I'm making you guys speak for your culture, so I feel like it's only fair. It's only fair that I have to answer for my culture. I don't know. I think part of it is the individualistic aspect of things, because it's sort of like, this is private for me.
I was gonna say, it's like Americans don't talk about certain things,
Yeah.
like finances, religion,
Yeah,
like,
religion, politics.
They kind of
what are
about
the
that.
taboo
Yeah.
topics? Yeah, which is funny because you think being more individualistic, we wouldn't care about like breaking fellowship with other people.
Yeah.
But I guess we do at the end of the day. I don't know. It's a good question. Like, what do you think?
Me.
Also being American.
Well, I was gonna say that's actually the good part about the U.S.
Yeah.
I mean, the U.S. is now changing, obviously, but
Well, in different
in
sections
different
of it.
ways. I mean,
Yeah.
people now are more outspoken about their politics, but
That's true.
I think it was great that people were not as outspoken
Once upon a
before.
time.
Once upon a time, yeah.
It really did keep the peace and diversity in terms of thought. Like people could think differently and dialogue differently. But I don't know. In the Middle East, your religion is tied to your identity. I mean, it's in some countries, it's on your ID card. And so it's that also. I mean, we'll talk about barriers later. But it also can be a barrier. Where here in America, no. I mean, anybody can believe whatever they want. They can. It's kind of a value that you can switch. You can. There's freedom. There's freedom of religion. So called. I don't know.
That can also be this way or that way, right?
Yeah.
Too much freedom.
Yeah.
Not enough freedom.
Yeah,
That's
it can
a
be
whole
good or
nother
bad,
topic,
I guess.
yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
I think, like you brought up the identity, and I think people of different culture, they are tied with their identity is tied to two things. One is their faith, and one it's their food. Food, it's if I'm asking Naila, hey, you should cut back Lebanon food. You could just eat noodles. It's very hard for her.
That's funny. Yeah,
it's very hard for her to switch, to convert. So same with religion. It's tied to their identity. So food and religion, it's just to try to convince. It's very difficult. But there are a lot of things that they practice, like the Muslim, Chinese, or Indian. They do it without asking that question, why they do it. And a lot of things in their life, they do it with not asking questions. So as to have that bridge, we will ask them. So usually I will start with Genesis. Like I will just start with identify what is sin. If they understand sin, how can you be cleansed of sin? And there will be a sacrifice. So they have to understand this sin and sacrifice, which they are doing. It's a working faith basis. So they should understand, and that's how you test their faith. Is that sacrifice good enough? So if they cannot understand sin and sacrifice, they cannot understand the Trinity. Of course, we cannot even go to the bigger topics, right? So if they can grasp these two, I think we can lead them to the gospel. And even in this society, I think a lot of I came to the States. A lot of things that you all do or you all don't question either. Like I come to the States, I go to the restaurant. I say, "What is chicken fried steak?" Right? Do you all understand? Why do you have chicken fried steak?
You fry a steak like it's chicken.
Yeah.
I didn't think about that. Oh my
But
God.
it is crazy. Yeah.
So
Why do they have that?
Yeah. So I have Indian friends that went who doesn't eat beef. He's a Hindu. He went to a restaurant. He ordered chicken fried steak because he says chicken.
Chicken.
Yes. So a lot of people just don't question it. They said, "Okay, I'll just order chicken. It's so delicious." And we told him it's steak. It's like, oh, okay. And then they stop ordering it. So it's the same with the other culture and different faith.
Yeah.
They just eat it. They just order it. They don't question. It's like, well, it's called root beer. There's no beer, right? Like,
Yeah.
you know, all this stuff, and they don't care. So we just try to connect and let them think. And I think in more prevalent in the Buddhist culture, of course, we have that Chinese character. By the way, Chinese character and the Hebrew, they used to start off with a pictograph story. They don't have letters. So if they see an event, they will just draw pictures. So Chinese, it's still a pictograph character. So I always during Chinese New Year they have this called blessings. They have a word of it, and the blessings is actually has the meaning from the gospel as well. Yeah. So, but I'm going to start with the Genesis. There's this word called in Chinese there are trees. A tree is a character. So if there are two trees that comes together and there's a warning, it's called forbidden. So two trees and forbidden. Yes, and a warning.
And a
sorry.
warning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Two trees and a warning. It's actually translate into forbidden. So in the Bible, I think in Genesis 3, yeah, it says, Genesis 2,
Yeah.
You're forbidden to eat from the knowledge of good and evil, tree of the knowledge of good and evil, right? So, so that's depicted from Genesis, that forbidden, that word, yeah. So it's the same as the Noah's Ark. Back in the days before Noah, there's no words called boat. So, but Chinese has a character. It's called the one vessel, and the number 8. It's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and the mouth. Mouth means person. So there are 8 person on the vessel. So it
is the word for boat.
For boat. Yeah.
Interesting.
So
yeah. So cool. Yeah, for such an old culture, or that we even see those pictures, and like how God's grace is just sprinkled. What is it in Acts? Is it 27? I should know this, but that like that God has brought people to different times and seasons so that they might reach out and find him, even though they're not far from him, or he's not far from them. So that's super cool.
Yeah, so it's I go to the Buddhist. I say I worship the God of Chinese ancient God. It's like, and they'll be like, no, you're not. It's like, you're a Christian. No, I am. And I will tell them, and I'll bring that character out. It's like all the your ancestors from China, they are worshiping the ancient God of the one in Jerusalem, started in Jerusalem. So and then I tell them, how did that happen? So then I'll lead them back the Tower of Babel. That's how the language, different language. So I'll tell them, and then I'll lead them back to the garden and the beginning of the story. Yeah. So I think they are always like, wow, I read this word all the time, but it never occurred to me it's a story of the Bible. So yeah.
Well, and Ray, you've been connecting with. So speaking about how how immigrant people are sometimes the easiest and best people to mobilize to reach other refugees, immigrants, different populations who are not believers. You've recently connected with a Rohingya group. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
So a Rohingya ethnic group, they are from Myanmar. They are considered the largest stateless population. Myanmar does not provide them any citizenship, so therefore they do not have access to basic human rights. No school, very little health care, and therefore they are always in that cycle of poverty without that human rights. So, and they are also persecuted by the military government. So therefore they many times houses are burned, violence, abused. and therefore they scattered and they moved to Bangladesh, Thailand, and Indonesia and Malaysia. And in Malaysia, we have about 200,000 Rohingyas. And in Houston, no, sorry, in US alone, there are about 20,000. So it's only 10% of what is in Malaysia.
Yeah.
And most of the Rohingyas that moved to US came from the Malaysian camp. So by the help of the United Nations. So I've been ministering to the local Rohingyas. Of course, they are all majority Muslim, but they speak Malay from Malaysia, and I was able to communicate them more easily. Yeah.
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 Well, the cool thing about that whole story is you, no, I won't say randomly, I feel like providentially just came to an event that with there was someone who was taking people out to different parts of Houston to engage unreached, unengaged people groups, and they were like, by any chance, is there somebody here who speaks Malay? And you were like, well, I guess I'll go with him. And you go every Saturday now? Is that true?
Correct, every Saturday.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was the first event Marie organized, right? That's the first one. Yes.
Well, it wasn't just me. Yeah. It was a bigger UVA and the Diaspora Missions Collective. Yeah.
Prior to that event, in my 1 year ago, I have this burden that I need to have a Malay Bible. Yeah. 1 year ago. Yeah. And I don't know why I asked for it. I live in Houston. Nobody speaks Malay with me, and I don't know why. But the Spirit just nudged me and say, Ray, you need to read the Bible in Malay. So I was like, okay. And then my next trip back to Malaysia, I got a Bible, brought it back, and then fast forward to the event. 1 year, fast forward to the event. I met the guy who serves in the Rohingya community, and he said, we need somebody who can speak Malay, so we can reach out to the Muslim, in Malay. And I was like, wow, to connect the dots. It's like a year ago, God has been preparing my heart, asked me to read the Bible in Malay, and now there's an opportunity to serve the people who understand Malay. So, yeah.
Well, and it's been cool to see how that's really thrown gas on the fire in a lot of ways to the work that, they live in that neighborhood. The missionary couple lives in that neighborhood specifically to engage Rohingya people. But to be able to have that Malay connection just opens, it has opened people up a ton. Not only to them, but to the gospel, which is such a cool, it's just such a cool thing.
It is.
Yeah.
And I just want to add, few families have heard the gospel, the Nabi Isa, the sacrifice of Nabi Isa. Of course, they understood it. Again, there is this identity they have to overcome. Yeah.
So what are some of the barriers that make it hard, and how can we overcome? I think personally, being from the Bible Belt, from a really rural area where everybody grows up thinking they're Christian, sometimes that's a huge barrier for really receiving the gospel, really having a personal relationship with Christ. People are like, oh, well, I grew up God and country, but they never learned who Jesus is, and so that can be a barrier to faith. What about for you guys in different? What do you see from your cultural background? Ray, you started?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Again, I mentioned earlier the identity. One is faith, one is food. I think a lot of the Muslim Rohingya that I met, I think, they serve a God because they are fearful, right? And I think they feel persecution among the community, especially in the Muslim faith, and also losing that identity. And I always read that verse in the Bible, John 13, and a new commandment I give you, that you love one another as I've loved you, that you also love one another. And by this, all will know that you are my disciple, and if you have love for one another. So I think that barrier, one, yes, it's knowledge of the gospel, and I find out that why does Muslim convert to Christianity? There is a survey out there that says 85% of Muslim convert to Christianity. They say it's because of the love of Christian.
Yeah.
And then it's like, wow. And then look at
that's what Jesus said.
Yes.
He said that people would know that we're his disciples by our love. Yeah.
So and I always reminds me of this verse again. John 13:34, love one another. It's not keep teaching one another and feeding them scripture every time you meet. Just love them, right? So I know knowledge is important, but I think learning to love. I know it's difficult for people, even for the Pharisee to love the tax collectors. Yeah. So I think the barrier is, I think they have barriers, which is that fear of changing their identity, and we shouldn't go in. I know it's a mission, but be ready to receive them as a family, because once they leave the faith, they lose everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we are their family. So we need to be ready. It's like we be ready to receive. They are a new creation.
Yeah.
So they need a new family.
Yeah.
So we need to be there. So I think they have that fear of converting. Anybody would be fearful to convert. No doubt. So therefore, we should have build up that love, build up that friendship before.
Yeah, because they already have to face the very real consequences. They
Yes.
personally face it, and so as the church, we have to ask ourselves: are we willing to take in somebody who's lost their family? We saw that literally in West Africa. People would leave a Muslim house; they would have to go live on the church compound because they were kicked out of their family. And so, if we don't accept,
Exactly.
if we're not prepared to
Exactly.
love them well
Yes.
as our brothers and sisters, how callous of us to expect them to bear all of the brunt of coming to faith without.
I would say one of our biggest barriers in the Indian culture in receiving the gospel is that many people feel like accepting Christianity means giving up their tradition and family. Basically, their family ties, just like Ray said here. It's like losing their identity and their connection to their community, which means everything to them.
Yeah.
Right. So to overcome this, I think we need to shift our focus on building trust with them, and the way to do that is to have real, honest conversations and real relationships where trust is established over time. And as we said before, like going on meals, having real, honest. It'll take time. It doesn't happen just automatically. So just having those real conversations with them, and instead of preaching the gospel at them, it's if you share personal stories about how God has changed our lives and showing that our faith can fit into their culture, yet not replace it, that's a way in to their homes or their doors, and then they start listening. So it's really important to approach it with patience, compassion, and making sure that they feel accepted, that you're not shouting at them, you're not preaching at them, that they feel accepted, that their voice is heard. And when they feel comfortable and they feel like they're not being judged, I feel like they're more open to learning. And when they're more open to learning, they're open to questioning. When they're open to questioning, that's when, we speak the truth.
Yeah.
And your truth, my truth, and at some point, that's where God does his work, right?
Yeah. But I think that's true of everybody, that we can come with a canned gospel which, there are times and places for that where you have prepared something, but I've had people preach the gospel at me as a believer, and like they didn't give me time to say like, oh, I'm a Christian. Like, you don't have to do all that. Like, and so like listening and having a real conversation is such an important thing, because like if you just are accepting a like canned salesman pitch, like how far into your heart does it actually sink? Is it a real work of the Spirit, or did you just like assent to something for whatever reason? I think
and something that I have done when I moved into my house here in Siena was, my kids were a little bit younger, we would sit outside and do homework. We would just pull out our table.
Just brave in Houston because it's hot, like
80-90%
90% of the year. Yeah.
So we would just sit outside and do our homework, and I would read my Bible. And as people pass by day after day, eventually somebody comes and sits. More kids come and join. More adults will stop and say hello. Oh, you read? Can I come read with you some days? Or there was one gentleman that said, I'm Muslim. I said, absolutely, come sit down, bring your Quran. We'll read it together. And so we started comparing notes, and his wife came, and we started comparing notes and started talking. A few years later, they moved away. I don't know, what happened, but I feel like I've laid the groundwork.
Yeah.
And God just has to take it from there.
Yeah, and in a neighborhood like Siena, what's the demographic makeup there? So like you have a Muslim family that lives next to you. What else do you have in your cul-de-sac?
Hindu family. I have a Roman Catholic that lives next to me. I've got an atheist who lives next to me.
Yeah.
So it's so many different cultures in one street.
Yeah. So by being a good neighbor and just living out your faith in a normal way, like people were able to at least hear the gospel, and then the Spirit, all we're responsible for is the gospel message. But everything else is outside our purview. Yeah, I think we have to just think more deeply. We need to have some better conversations, and I hope that this can fuel better conversations for other people and is helpful and insightful. I love you guys. I'm so glad y'all have signed up for this, even though you didn't know what you were signing up for.